There are some games I wait until all the hate has died off on them before I go out and remotely pick them up. I did this with the Bureau, XCOM Declassified, Nation, Return to Call of Liberty, and so on. So, when all the hate had died down for Ratchet and Clank All for One, along with the game being about $7, I figured it was about time I go and check it out and, possibly write a review on it. The development cycle isn't really all that interesting. It was developed by Insomniac, published by Sony in 2011 to everyone's disappointment. We all know who Insomniac now at this point. They have done a lot of great games such as Resistance, Fall of Man, the early Spyro games, and the list goes on. So there's really not a lot of dirt I could really dig up on either one of these companies. Well, that hasn't already been known for a few years now. Now, with all that said, let's jump into how they botched this game so hard. The plot of the game is pretty well basic. A new bad guy came and kidnapped the gang along with Dr. Nefarious, and it's your job to work together to get through this nasty disappointment of a game. Seriously, I didn't pay attention to the story at all, and that's all I really got out of it. So, it's one of those games where, you don't care how good the script writing is, you just play it and it's like, this really is just not helping the situation at all. Graphics for the most part is par for the course for the series, but at times they did take a big step back. The worlds are bright and colorful, characters feel like they came out of a Pixar movie, weapons are unique to any other platformer, and the action is quite intense. The problem is that it feels like an indie game release for $40. Not to mention it feels stripped down. Levels don't feel like open-ended planets. They are actually so scaled back from going from a game like this to something like a Ratchet and Clank Going Commando or Future Tools Destruction that there is really no point exploring these levels to find anything. They also scale back how many weapons there are. There's a total of 15 weapons at most, and it's the typical by the books, most popular kind of guns from that franchise put in there. The frame rate also took a bit of a hit. Well, the game chops up more often than ever now, and if you have a weapon that causes a lot of damage, like a bomb kind of weapon or a really heavy firing kind of weapon, it would chop up quite often, even during boss fights. This makes the graphics at the end of the day very disappointing. The audio is good enough, but it's overshadowed by how disappointing everything else is in the game. The music is very serviceable, it's appropriate for what's going on in the game. It's not going to set the world on fire, but it does its job fairly effectively. The script writing and voice acting is fairly well done as well. I did get a few laughs, but this really does feel like a script that is more for a kiddie audience than when you look at something like a Ratchet and Clank, well, the original Ratchet and Clank, or Up Your Arsenal, or Future Tools of Destruction, or a little bit, to some extent, a game like Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty. This really did feel like a very kiddie kind of script. To best describe the gameplay, I got 2 words. Those are half-assed and disappointing. Yes, I know it's technically free, but you get the point. The game's only real selling point was its 4-player co-op, and that's it. The gameplay itself is very stripped down in comparison to the other Ratchet and Clank games. You go from level to level, killing enemies, doing dirt basic platforming stuff, and that's it. This makes it feel like an absolute chore to play through because how much padding there is in this bad boy. Sure, there are some gameplay variety as far as, change it up every once in a while, but it's typical Ratchet and Clank kind of stuff. There are so many things taken out of this game, it's ridiculous. Here's just a list of things taken out of.
Thank you,
If you were to just go from tools of destruction and going into this, they took out how awesome the camera was, and also any kind of camera control. Basically, it's what the camera the developers want to give you at that point, and that's it. Weapons now, you gotta buy the upgrades, which are a total of 3, instead of leveling up and feeling like you're earning them. Wage, planet, felt like the world is now gone. Almost any form, side quest, and any kind of reason to replay levels, which makes all the skill points feel like, you know, they're just gonna get handed to you eventually, so why fucking bother? Congratulations, Insomniac. You have created a game with a more pointless single player than the modern Call of Duty games. Not to mention, the artificial intelligence seems to get worse the further you get into the game. If you don't have friends to play with, they will do nothing but annoy you every chance they get. Sure, at the start of the game, you know, they do enough, they kill enemies, they don't go off and get themselves killed for random reasons, but, you know, right near the end, the AI just is one big aggravation. It's like they're trying so damn hard to freaking force this idea that you have to play this 4-player. If you're playing this alone, you're fucking a loser and all that. You know, that's what it felt like to me. It felt like a big old slap in the face if you tried to play this game by yourself. Now, not everything is bad about the gameplay. The controls, for the most part, work fine. They changed how you change weapons. You have to hold R1 and use the right analog stick instead of holding circle like in any other Ratchet and Clank game. Another problem is that you can also use the right analog stick to select a weapon through that way, and you can change what kind of gadget or what weapon you have, because there's several different little wheels, and you just move the analog stick into that direction for the weapon you want. The problem is that if you have played a lot of 2D shooters like Beat Hazard or I'm trying to think of some other Smash TV, you know, that use the whole dual analog stick. Geometry Wars is another good example where you use the right analog stick to fire and you use the left analog stick to move. This is gonna really confuse you, and it's just bad decision making, top to bottom. Let's see, there's 4-player online and offline co-op. My problem is that at the end of the day, when you hold the standard, or pretty much hold the standard for what a good action platform game, and you know, the only guys to really give you competition is the odd Mario game, the Jack and Daxter series, and you release a crunk of garbage with so many decisions. Just, you look at it and it's like, why would you ever do this? You know, it's so below par that it's not funny. Overall, Ratchet and Clank All for One is one of the most disappointing and half-assed games I have ever played. They stripped out so much that it feels like a downloadable $10 game at best. If you want to go out and play it, don't pay more than $10 at most. Otherwise, leave it in the bargain bin. Not to mention, there are so many better action platform games, not only on the system, but this console generation, that I would rather go play something like Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, new Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, the list goes on. I would play those long before I would ever touch this ever again. I'm gonna give this a 4.5 out of 10. I would up it to a 6 if it wasn't for how much better I know Insomniac can do, but as it stands, this is a below average game. It's a 4.5 out of 10.